You can do the intro.
Oh, you little bastard. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this. This is your weekly WWE Monday Night Raw review. I'm your host, LK. I'm joined by my partner in crime. Hello, partner.
What's up, dude?
Dude, it
This
is
is
fucking...
Rasslin Rantin.
Dude, what has happened? Like, I swear to God, you're the jinx. I swear to God, you're the... Have I ever been on a show with you where it's been good? Survivor Series 2015, I remember that you were on particular, stunk. I remember a Raw where Brock was on, stunk. I remember the Raw after the Raw in the UK you were on, stunk. Then there was a good one, but it was fucked up by technical difficulties where we all sounded like robots. So I think you're a jinx. And I found out halfway through the show you were coming on, and ever since that half, the show stunk. So thanks for ruining the final hour and a half of Raw. And just as you guys know, I have a name and shame game. When I usually go solo, I have a name and shame game where I like to bury people on Twitter for being imbeciles. You, Rasslin Rantin, could be on that name and shame game. You were embarrassing on that Twitter machine tonight. What was going on?
Well, see, here's the key. Number one, you hate everything, but that's okay. It's perfect. But number two, see, the key to watching Raw for me now, for those of you who aren't familiar with me, if you haven't seen me on the show before, I took a hiatus from watching Monday Night Raw every single week from basically the day after WrestleMania until about 2 weeks ago. And now I watch it not segment for segment. I kind of watch parts that are good, and then the next thing comes on. If I see, like, say, Zack Ryder show up against Rusev, I kind of start doing other things, turn back, and it seems a lot more palpable then. But I did enjoy some of the stuff, but we'll get into that as we go on through the review here.
Yeah, it wasn't a mess. There was some good. The way I saw that, and I said this on the preview, I'm not looking for a 5-star wrestling match on this show. I'm looking for amazing stories and make me want to buy the network for the pay-per-view this Sunday. Did they tick that box? No, they erased that box with an eraser, quite frankly. Did you even know there's a pay-per-view on Sunday minus some video packages? You wouldn't know. If they took away those video packages and you just saw the stories, would you know who's facing who, why they're facing, and when the show is? You wouldn't know. Paul.
Yeah, well, I don't know if I hadn't known beforehand. Who knows? Because I tend to now tune out all their propaganda shit now. It's just how my brain works. As soon as commercial comes on, zoned out. So who knows? They did. I think they did mention in the 12 man that there was, because I didn't know. Actually, this is a good point. I didn't know that there were 2 6-mans this weekend, so they did clear that up for me during the 12-man match. But that's pretty much the only. I mean, everything else I already knew was happening on the show. I still actually don't really know, like, who the Divas are fighting this weekend. Who is a tag match? Is for title? I don't know. I guess we'll get into it later. But they didn't put over too much on this show except for the world title situation and the 2 6-man tags.
I don't even think. I mean, up until the last 90 minutes, they didn't really do much to build the WWE title match itself. Like, but they had video packages on. But they had video packages. No, I mean build. Like, how? Like, I'm gonna get onto that when we get to that 6-man tag. Because I swear to God, I'm gonna blow a tangent. And I don't live tweet Raw for a reason. And tonight I thought, you know what, a live tweet Raw, get some, maybe get a bit of attention before this review. But I just had to stop myself after the second hour because I was just going to get sent to block fucking island everywhere. But we'll get on with this review because that's what people come in for. We started off with an intro and pyro. I'm a fan of that. What's your opinion on that? Obviously, you're an old schooler fan, so I'm expecting you to give me some vast knowledge here. Intro, pyro, loved it. What was your intake on it?
Yeah, it's different from the usual shit that they do, and it's a bit of a throwback to the old school days. So I'm happy with it.
I was expecting a lot more of an in-depth answer. I'm pretty upset.
It's pyro, for God's sake. It's actually, pyro is one of the things that I actually detest about Raw, but that's another story.
No, it's not another story. I asked you about pyro. Why don't you like the pyro?
Well, okay, so one of the weeks during the last 3 months where I had to break my rule and actually go see Raw, my cousins wanted to go see it because it was in Baltimore. It was the week AJ took on Kevin Owens. And my God, sitting in the arena, and I talked to Dave about this, it feels like you're being inundated with 3 hours of brainwashing. Because if anybody knows anything about certain conditioning of minds, you flash a bunch of stuff at people, loud noises, bang, boom, flash. And then in between all of those is buy the network, buy this DVD, watch this movie, buy this, buy this, buy this. I really felt like, and I'm looking at the crowd and they're all like, so I started feeling like I was in some sort of brainwashing experiment, and that's and if anybody who's seen WWE commenters or WWE only fans who comment on the internet might give a little credence to that. So that's why I'm not a big fan of that. But for tonight, just to get a change away from the 20-minute I'm coming out, yeah, it was good.
So should start off with Stephanie the Whore McMahon coming out. Shane Flip McMahon comes out. Obviously, Shane's the commissioner of SmackDown, Stephanie the commissioner of Raw. I don't get the commissioner, how a commissioner is in charge of a general manager. I'm assuming, why couldn't Stephanie be the COO, and then obviously she announces blah blah blah, which we'll touch on in a minute, becomes the GM. I don't understand the difference between a commissioner and a GM. Like, obviously the way this is structured is the commissioner is above a GM, but I thought the commissioner character, because obviously it went from Michaels to Foley to Regal, just got transitioned naturally into the general manager. So I don't get why they've kind of faded the lines. I don't get that. I just don't understand that.
Yeah,
How is
their hierarchy is a little off. It's like a captain being over top of an admiral. It doesn't make any real sense. But there are some things that I like about the brand split and some things I don't like about what they're doing with the brand split. Of course, we haven't seen it in action yet. This is one of the things I don't like, because I would prefer them just to do it as not just two brands, but two different mini sub companies in WWE overall. So then Shane is the owner of SmackDown. Stephanie is the owner of Raw, and not this commissioner, general manager, COO, corporate. They get so into this corporate hierarchy shit. I don't know anybody else. They think it's interesting. To me, and I don't know how you feel about it, every time they do these corporate story angles, corporate Kane, and he's the CEO and he bought out this person and shares and stocks, I don't give a flying fuck about that when I'm watching a wrestling show.
Well, bless them. They think we do. They think they do. Bless them. You know, there's only 3.8 million people who sit there and suffer and watch, and they think they do. I guess. Bless them. Well, they come out. They bicker for what feels like an eternity, and then Stephanie announces that the Cruiserweight division will be exclusive to Raw. I was kind of okay, but at the same time, I'm like, I wish it was the women's division that was exclusive to Raw. Because what I'm assuming is, because obviously the main event, I'm now expecting 2 world title belts, and I've got a feeling you're not going to be too happy about that. I'm happy about that, so that's going to be an interesting one later on, but we'll discuss that. With this women's division now, with one champion, does that mean she's going to have to go have a program on SmackDown, then have a program on Raw? Does that mean one time the champion will be on SmackDown and not on Raw? How will the title switch? That gets confusing for me. Like, that gets so fucking confusing. If this was me, I'm not even joking, I'd have tag teams on one brand, I'd have women on one brand, I'd have cruiserweights on one brand, and I'd have 2 separate world titles, so it doesn't get confusing. I can't be dealing with a women's champion in 2 different programs, or a WWE champion involved in a program on Raw and a program on SmackDown, but then what happens if he drops the belt on Raw at a pay-per-view? Does that mean on the next SmackDown pay-per-view, the number 1 contender on the SmackDown brand will face the new champion? Would it be a triple threat? I can't be dealing with that stress in my life. I can't be dealing with that.
Right.
2, you have a brand, like you said, that's their company. They have that belts for the divisions they have. Raw has a cruiserweight title, it has a women's championship, and it has the WWE championship, say. SmackDown can have their world title, tag team division, mid-card belt. Like, I can't be dealing with champions flip-flopping in the brands. That's what I didn't like about the early phases, where it was a cluster. I didn't enjoy that, because 1 minute Taker was exclusive to Raw, and then he's on SmackDown because he's the champion, and it was like, oh, wait, he's in a feud with Jeff Hardy on Raw, but then he's on a feud with The Rock on SmackDown. Like, what the fuck's going on? Like, I didn't like that, but she does announce. So what is your impression, anyway, of the Cruiserweight division coming back?
The Cruiserweight division coming back, I'm skeptical. I'm skeptical of it being on the main roster. What they've done in the CWC is absolutely fantastic. The first week, last week, Kota Ibushi and I can never remember the poor kid, the Samoan kid's last name, but that match was phenomenal. I wanted it to be on SmackDown because you have number one a commentator on SmackDown. Now that's given whether or not that he's not going to get traded to Raw, because remember the commentators are also up for grabs to be traded in this brand split too. But with Daniel Bryan on SmackDown, with SmackDown apparently going to have a different look, probably more in style with what they had on the CWC or something like Ring of Honor or New Japan, or even given more of a UFC kind of look to the way because you remember Shane said last week, I'm going to shoot it differently. I'm going to have it presented differently. The format's going to be different, which I've been saying, if they're going to do this shit, that's the way they need to do it. And SmackDown needs to look like a completely different product. It needs to look like a WCW it needs to look like Nitro compared to Raw. It can't look like a blue version of Raw, which is what ruined the brand split last time. So it being the Cruiserweights being on Raw, if with Mick Foley and Stephanie McMahon, it seems like Raw is going to continue to be what Raw is now, the more jokey entertainment side of sports entertainment. But the Cruiserweights are the way they're doing it in a Cruiserweight tournament. It's more sports entertainment, so it seems to be misplaced when you have it with Stephanie and Foley, who are going to be doing more shtick as opposed to Daniel Bryan and on SmackDown, and it being in that commentary team and it being more sports. It just doesn't seem like it fits.
But maybe I reckon it's just simply because of the third hour. Like, I didn't even think they considered that. I think it was, oh shit, we have an hour extra. Oh shit, even though they are going to get one extra wrestler a pick, they're like, oh fuck, we need talent. Oh, if we just fucking sign fucking 3/4 of those Cruiserweight Classic wrestlers, put them in the Cruiserweight division, boom.
Well, that goes to your point too, though, about why not just, instead of doing that, just put the women on Raw and put the Cruiserweights on SmackDown. And then you have a talented roster. You got Asuka and Bayley and Alexa Bliss, who's been getting better. They're going to be coming up in the next 6 months. You could do that. I just don't think the Cruiserweights, if they're going to do it the way I hope they do it, which is like they're doing it on the Cruiserweight tournament, I don't think it fits on the kind of show Raw is apparently going to be. And it fits more with SmackDown, the underdog. I mean, even the whole promo tonight, Daniel Bryan gave about the underdogs. The Cruiserweight division seems like it fits with Daniel Bryan and SmackDown and on SmackDown and not on Raw. It just doesn't. I don't know. We'll see. I mean, again, we'll see coming up in the next couple of weeks whether or not that works or not.
I'm still honestly expecting tomorrow to kick off the show. Vince announcing, okay, we're shaking things up, blah blah blah, the usual propaganda bullshit. But I honestly think he's gonna swap Foley and Bryan around and have Bryan be with Stephanie and Foley with Shane. I just can't picture two baby faces being together. I just can't picture that in my mind. I have to picture heel face. Like Foley can be the heel, Shane can be the face, Stephanie can be the heel.
Yeah, Foley's he's not coming out as a heel though. He came out as, cuddly teddy bear. He's not Mankind McFoley. This is Teddy Bear McFoley. So I don't know.
He's being a douche to Daniel Bryan, sorry, in one of the end segments.
That's competition. You're always going to have that. I mean, we're probably going to be douches to each other on the show, but by the time we get to that splitting the world title thing coming up later in the 12-man tag, so that happens. That doesn't mean either one of us are heels, though.
That's true. So we have Mick Foley. He's the GM of Raw. I didn't read spoilers because I don't read spoilers because the night is dark and full of spoilers. And I thoroughly enjoyed this. I admit I marked out like a little 6-year-old bitch when Foley came out. But I just don't like watching Foley walk. It makes me feel uncomfortable knowing that I took such great pleasure in seeing him fuck up his body. And now it's like, oh, damn, son. Oh, God, how long till he's in a wheelchair? Like, give that another 5 years and I reckon he's wheelchair bound.
Yeah, a couple hip replacements, and yeah, that's the same. The good thing about it though is that we have no more. At this point, there are no heel authority figures outside of Stephanie. And my assumption is that Stephanie and Shane are not going to be on those shows every single week. Hopefully, I mean, what's the point of having the GMs anyway?
Yeah, I'm expecting that. Foley cuts a promo hyping and promoting his GM position, blah blah blah. Shane announces Daniel Bryan's the GM for SmackDown. Bryan comes out. I've forgotten how over Bryan was. Like hearing reactions week after week, and then hearing that reaction, it's like, damn,
that was a pop.
It was a pop.
That was a big pop.
Bryan hypes SmackDown Live. I enjoyed it. You know, it wasn't a waste of time. You know, it did its job, which was make me kind of excited for the draft. You know, but better than normal. At least it wasn't a hype of a fucking tag team match that we usually fucking get, or Stephanie and Shane flapping their gums for 30 minutes. It was actually, there was a point to the promo. They got to the point. Boom. It may have been 5 minutes too long, but it's definitely a man involved. It's going to be 5 minutes too long.
Yeah, I don't know what is with her in this ad. I mean, her ad libbing. No, we don't need you ad libbing. We need other people. Dean Ambrose ad libbing last week was good. I don't need Stephanie interrupting everybody and trying to get cute because because now you're seeing her real personality, and her real personality, Triple H, boy, I feel for you, brother, man. If you gotta deal with that, it's just like hun, just shut up, bend over because your ass is nice, but you gotta shut that trap. Just stop talking, bitch. He probably just said, just open your. If you're gonna open your mouth, let me. That's all it's good for. That's right there. Suck it. You know that because boy, if she does that in real life, just constantly blabbering. Oh, you're sweaty. I'm gonna slap you again. Oh my God, he's begging to the crowd. I was like, just oh my God, just shut up. Just shut up. It's not. You're not funny. You're not cute. I know you're trying to ad lib to make it more realistic, but you're not the one we want to do that. We want the boys and the girls to do that, not you.
The WWE defenders, but that means she's doing her job because you don't like her. That means she's doing her job.
No.
That's what's smashing in the live comments right now. Actually, no, people who listen to this show aren't morons.
Very true.
We'll jump on to the next segment because there's still fucking 17 pages of notes still got to go through. We have Jericho and Diet Owens Diet versus Sami Zayn and Cesaro. I mean, I just don't. Again, it's the pay-per-view. Like, Jericho's got this highlight reel with Orton. Why couldn't he do a backstage pre-tep saying blah, 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 blah?
Right.
Kevin Owens is facing Sami Zayn. Why couldn't you have had Kevin Owens take out Sami Zayn backstage and then Cesaro had to have a mystery partner that could have been fucking anyone? You know, it's just a Cesaro example. The night after WrestleMania, he came out. He was in the main event, really big pop. Now he's doing nothing. He's doing nothing.
Right.
Just a Cesaro example.
Oh, I heard myself. That was very scary. That was very, very scary. Yeah, but the match itself, I thought it was a decent wrestling match. Zayn got the win with the roll-up, but it didn't build Owens and Zayn. Like, if you're watching that's your first time of watching Raw because you've heard this buzz for this brand extension, and you see it and you're like, oh, okay, they're having a match, okay. You could have done so much. It's like a 10+ year history you could have done. You could have done anything. You could have had Owens come out, cut a shoot-style promo, have Sami Zayn come up, fucking flip that hat off, rip that jacket off, go on there, big pull-up brawl where security guards have to come in and separate them, where the wrestlers have to come out and separate them, have Zayn bleeding from the mouth, Owens shout, come on then, you fucking prick, blah, 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 blah. And then you think, oh, fuck, they hate each other. I want to pay to see them wrestle. How can I watch this? Oh, I have to buy the WWE Network. Oh, I have a free month. Boom. Like, instead, they did... Zayn got the win over Jericho with a roll-up. That was about it. That was it. They were wrestling for the sake of wrestling, and that I don't like. And with Jericho, what's he doing with his life right now? He didn't need to be.
That's what he's doing.
Yeah, but he didn't put him over as a roll-up. Like this match, the next match was a roll-up.
I'm gonna break this to younger wrestling fans because I talked about this with Dave. Because cheap promotion here. I just did a retrospective review of the 1986 Crockett Cup. I even had forgotten how much back in the 80s most matches ended with roll-ups, distraction roll-ups, clotheslines, like really small packages. That was like the norm back then. So, and I think, and I get what you're saying, that it's not putting him over. It doesn't make the other guy look strong when Jericho loses to a roll-up. But the other guy does get a win, and I think it's good to not have everybody win with a finisher. And because I think because right now it's kind of boring sometimes when you see these matches because if it's a 15-minute match, you know the first 10 minutes is inconsequential because, oh, he did a roll-up. He's not going to win for a roll-up. Oh, he did, you know it's not going to be over. And when you have it where you could lose a match on a clothesline, you could lose it on a roll-up, a small package, a wrestling move, and not just a finisher, then you're paying attention more because the match could end at any time. So I don't mind the roll-ups as much, But I think you're right in this case that this roll up in this particular match, because the match was not inconsequential anyway, it didn't really help any of these guys. I think it's more, I don't think it's so much the roll up. I think it's just the fact the setup of the match just doesn't help anybody anyway. So even if they did, Jericho could have lost to 5 Cesaro uppercuts, and he could have blown him up, put a dynamite stick up his ass, and blown him up, pinned him, and it still wouldn't have mattered because it's like, well, this match had no point to it. So it should have been a squash match with enhancement talent, but that's another topic.
Or you just have the fucking Owens and Zayn segment where you actually get fucking hype on the match, but I don't want to fucking raid on that parade too long for a fucking...
And I think the problem with Owens and Zayn, I think the problem is the WWE proper audience still does not really know their history. Like, those of us who watch other pro wrestling, we know the history of Sami Zayn, El Generico, Kevin Steen, Kevin Owens. We know that history. I don't think they've gotten it over enough to their general audience. And I think they would have done good by having, and I've advocated these for a long time since they had that Raw 2 years ago that was snowed in and they had all those sit-downs with Reigns and Lesnar. That style works. They can do that really well, especially with the production team. I think if you had one segment with Zayn for 3 or 4 or 5 minutes, sit-down interview where he's talking about his history with Owens, get some of that old ROH footage because you know they can, and then have another segment with Kevin Owens talking about it, and they're doing a shoot work. And then they go to, and then you could have booked the match. They go to have the match, but the match never starts because they just go at each other. You've seen those interviews. They just go at each other. The match is called off. So then everybody saves face. You've gotten people invested in this. You're giving them 3 segments to work with. And then if I'm a casual fan, I'm like, oh, okay, you've taught me because I want to see these guys fight. And I haven't seen them fight. I haven't seen them actually have a match. You've already kind of seen it now. So it's just these little subtle things that they don't do right now that I think add to your frustration, my frustration, and probably the frustration of a lot of people in the chat right now.
One thing also is, like, I don't know, but the way I'm brought up is if you're in a match, say I'm Kevin Owens die, and I'm in a match with Sami Zayn, and it's the go home show, you should not get in a match involving the other person, because otherwise what's the point of paying for the pay-per-view if I'm already in a match with the guy? Like, why would I pay to watch Kevin Owens versus Sami Zayn when I just saw them wrestle each other on a fucking tag match? Why would I pay to see New Day versus the Wyatt family when they've been involved in a tag match? Why would I pay versus the Club versus Enzo, Cass and Cena when I've just seen them wrestle in a tag team match? Why would I bother paying to see Charlotte and Dana Brooke versus Sasha Banks in a horror of her choice? We've just seen that, minus obviously the different person. You know, right. What is the point? You've given everything away that you're doing, even the main event. You've got 2/3 of the main event, minus Reigns, because they physically and legally can't. They just given to you for free, and it was for the belt. That this is disgusting. Go home show. You should have not had. You should have either had no physicality between them, pull apart brawls, or you should have got heat. Like, no one got heat in this. Not one person got heel heat heading out of this. Like, what? Maybe my conception of a go home show is different to theirs, because theirs is, oh look, you've seen them fight a little bit. If you pay, you can see them fight a lot more. But that just doesn't work for me. And most people just think, oh, I got my dose, I'll just tune in next week on Raw.
Yeah, they're not used to they're not building towards anything. To them, it's kind of like, I really honestly think, again, back to the 3 hours, it's just them filling time. Well, we need to fill time. We need to have matches. So you guys go out there for 20 minutes and you know, that'll help promote the match because they'll see you interact, so they'll know, you know, it's not good storytelling. It's just basically what it is. I mean, that's a basic fundamental of storytelling. The go home show, to compare it to movies or writing, is the end of your second act, and the pay-per-view is the third act where the climax happens. This go home show should have been, to reference a movie that I've been talking about a lot this week, the go home show tonight should have been, shit, William Peck just came in and shut down the ecto container, and all the ghosts have gotten loose, and your mother and Dana's possessed by a dog, and she's gone crazy, and Rick Moranis is walking around the streets, and we just got arrested. And then you end the show, and then you go to the final act. That's Ghostbusters, by the way, for people that didn't know. That's where you're supposed to lead to. That's what this show should have been, is leading you into, oh shit. They kind of did that at the very end, but that I didn't like it, and we'll talk about that when we get there.
Alberto Del Rio and Darren Young. Do we have to? Young is the number one contender. You hear crickets, and actually that's not fair because you can't actually hear crickets because that would actually ramify any fucking noise at all. Young got the win with "Let You Guess" a roll up. This is 2 months. This is just I don't even want to talk. Can we not talk about it? Like, it didn't do anything for anyone.
Wait a minute, okay. We're gonna make LK great again. Don't you tell me that you don't like Darren Young or distraction roll-ups, young man. Give me 20 push-ups.
This had no build, no story, no backstage promo, no video package, not even a Raw up next. That's how much they cared about this. And this is their Intercontinental Championship match for the pay-per-view. A guy who has not won a match clean since 2015, because I don't count a roll-up as clean. It's a joke. It's a joke. You know, like, have Miz come out, you know, how about this? You have young Alberto Del Rio, you just have Miz come out, hit him with the belt, cut a promo saying, you know what, you may have Bob Backlund with you, but you don't deserve this, blah, blah, blah. Pick him up again, smack him with the belt again, crowd, boo, boo, you suck, boom, end of segment. You're like, oh, okay, I hate Darren Young, I hate the Miz, but, you know, I wouldn't mind seeing, you know, Young kick his ass because that was kind of a horrible thing to do. Like, at least that's something. It's better than... Like, I guarantee you, when we do, well, if we do a Battleground preview, you'll be like, oh shit, that match is on the card. Oh damn, and that's your fucking Intercontinental Championship match. It's a fucking joke.
Yeah, I actually think the secondary titles, they're giving up on booking those until after the brand split because I think they need to sort out where those titles are going, or even if they notice that they're on a bunch of lower, not even mid-carders, lower mid, because I consider Rusev kind of a lower mid-carder now because he hasn't done shit for a long time, and his heat is gone. Like, whatever heat he had last year is so cold. It's so, even Lana is not even over anymore. So, and the Miz is the Miz, and you know, they're just not, nobody cares. So I think until the brand split happens, until they settle, things get settled, those secondary titles are going to be booked as badly as they're being booked right now.
It's disgraceful. Then we have the fuck me sideways. John Cena, Enzo and Cass and the New Day versus the Wyatt family in the club because we're too lazy to come up with booking ideas. So, there's 2 6-man tags at a pay-per-view. We could either, you know, have compelling stories where, you know, you can't wait to see them fight, or we could just put them in a 12-man tag. Let's put them in a 12-man tag. I think that's got to be the way forward. But I fucking pray that Enzo and Cass don't get split up in this brand split. That worries me. Like,
yeah,
if this was any...
Same thing with the club, too. I don't want to see them broken up either, but you kind of feel it's going to happen.
With any other company, I wouldn't worry, but because it's this company, I get a bit petrified when it comes to actually making decisions that affect the product. Like, this is like actual decisions that will affect the product. It does concern me, but we go on for a very long promo. They're joking around about hashtags and picking tag partners, and then they do a New Day come out. They do a rundown of Pokemon characters, you know, 6 days prior to a war with the petrifying Wyatt family, which they've been trying to portray now for the past month. So that's now all worthless. You know, people put this right. Name and shame game time, okay? At Raw Dogs WWE, that was a great segment. The New Day. What? At New Age Insiders, Raw is incredibly entertaining, and now they're talking about Pokemon.
Dude, Brother Nero, why are they talking about Pokemon, Brother Nero? They're just stealing everything from anything that they can find to make it have any kind of social relevance, even if it's stealing it from TNA, who stole it from Lucha Underground anyway. They're just hopping on whatever is hot, and I think that's the wrong direction for the New Day. That can make them get old really quick.
Dude, that pissed me off when I think, like, the fact you're 6 days, like, they went for this whole month, they've been portraying, oh shit, it's the Wyatt family, I'm petrified, I'm scared. They did that rip-off of Final Deletion last week where they were petrified and scared, like where one of them fucking was scared with Bray Wyatt. This week they came out, they were joking, they were laughing. They weren't saying, if you buy the network this Sunday, you'll see two teams. We won't fight. We won't have a wrestling match. We're going to go to war. You didn't see that. It was one of the bastards talked about Pokemon.
Yeah, I'm wondering too if that has a lot to do with the backlash from their final non-deletion last week, and people just hopped all over them for copying it. And they just kind of said, "Oh fuck it," it's just probably what happened. Just fuck it, just put them in with Cena and do a big match, and and that's what they did because they gave away. And here's another thing again: they gave away what should come in the third act, which should be the pay-per-view, is Xavier Woods overcoming his fear. They even made a point of saying that when he did the dive outside the ring. That should have been saved for Sunday. He did it on Raw in a non-moment that. You built to that. The thing I was hoping about this, and I'm going to go old school for some kids here, way back in the day, a name we're not supposed to mention, Chris Benoit had this whole thing where it was the Four Horsemen and the Dungeon of Doom. And Benoit had this thing with Kevin Sullivan. And they had, you didn't quite know what was going on, but there was this whole thing that R. Anderson was like, shut up, Benoit, don't fuck with it. And he was like outside the group. They had the match, and then you built up to when, of course, eventually Anderson looks like he's going to turn on Benoit, but they actually turn on Sullivan. I was hoping that they were going to do not the same thing, but something similar here where Xavier Woods is kind of, he's kind of his wild card of the New Day, But now they just ruined any suspense or drama I have for that match because now, and I fear that Sunday, what started out as something that had my interest, even when I wasn't watching Raw, I was like, oh, that looks interesting. Xavier's scared of them. He's got conflict with his group. I have a feeling that the match Sunday is just going to be a match, and it's just going to end, and that'll be it. And then they'll go on and have another one in the next month, or depending on whether or not any of these guys are together anymore, whoever split up after the brand split. God, could you imagine if they split the New Day up?
I do think they'll split the White family up. I reckon Bray will go singles.
Yeah.
Let's just fire Rowan and Strowman. Let's just be honest. Let's just fire them. They're not worth anything.
Yeah.
This could, though. Go on.
I have to say I didn't. Now, unlike you, I did enjoy this 12-man match, not for any storyline purposes, but it was entertaining. It was just entertaining to see all of those characters in the ring at the same time. I did like Big Cass's stare down with Braun Strowman, even though we knew the action was going to be terrible, just the visuals of it, which when I watch WWE, it's like, that's pretty much this is what I'm going to watch for, is to see interesting characters. I love when Enzo tagged in. He tagged himself in, and he does his little switchy piece shit, and he's got that look on his face like he's some crackhead, which he always looks like anyway, and he gets booted around, and Big Cass comes in. Little moments like that. I do think it was cool that AJ got the pin. He got the win. The club looked strong. Bullet Club looked strong at the end of it. So then they've got another. It's them getting another one up on Cena. Now, of course, we all know Cena's going to get his win back eventually, but as long as he doesn't totally destroy them this Sunday, I can tolerate almost Cena and Enzo and Cass winning this match Sunday. But so far, I like the match. I like the action in the match, but the storyline purposes of it, it's a wasted opportunity with both of those feuds.
I agree. I mean, this could have been the best 12-man tag ever, but there's just no reason to care. I mean, they could have done anything here. Like, they could have had Cena get attacked backstage. You could have had the Wyatts kidnap one of the New Day members. You could have done anything. And what they did was a 12-man. That upset me. That hurt me a lot. When I saw that advertised, I fucking flipped my lid. I was so angry and agitated. It was just, there's so much you could do with the Wyatts. Kidnap one of the New Day, and then when Big E and Kofi finally find them, have Rowan and Strowman take them out, and then put them right in fucking the tortured one's face and say, look, this is what we're going to do to you this Sunday, and just beat it. Don't like obviously make it like non-PG, but you could do that in the PG way. Or you could have had Cena getting taken out backstage by the club, but then the club denies it, and then Enzo and Cass go solo. That way, when Enzo and Cass do get defeated, you're like, oh, okay, but they were a man down. You could have done anything, and they just went the simplest route that was easy, that doesn't take much imagination, and that's upsetting, but it's what they do. But I mean, the match ends. New Day and Wyatt's brawled up the ramp. You know, there was no camera that follows. So for all we knew, once they get past the curtain, they just stop, handshake, give each other a hug, move on. That would have never ever have happened prior 2008. Prior, that wouldn't have happened. That would not have happened. You would have had a camera. You would have had a camera.
That's happened a lot in wrestling history. They especially on these when they have matches like this where you're trying to cross two different feuds. It's always the lesser feud winds up brawling outside of the ring, and then the main feud they keep in the ring. God, what did they do? Oh yeah. I just rewatched one the other day. It was like before WrestleMania 3. They had Hogan, Billy Jack Haynes, and Roddy Piper against Adrian Adonis, Hercules, and Mr. Wonderful. And that was when Piper, I don't know if you remember this, Piper and Adrian Adonis had a big feud. So they wind up brawling and then both getting eliminated and fighting back to the back and everything. So it's like, get rid of them. It's the same kind of booking. Vince has done this shit forever. It's like, okay, we just smash all this together and then kind of skirt these guys off and then leave their other guys in the ring. I think it just would have been better off. I think it would have been better off if they had played on more something that they had in the match, which was AJ and Bray Wyatt having a little bit of a conflict with each other, and even announcers brought it up. I think if they had that, they just had a match between two of these four entities and had a little bit of a hint between the club and the Wyatts having a conflict over who was going to pick the bones of John Cena first. I think that might have been a little bit more interesting. But again, I think you and I could probably book this 20 different ways that would be better than what they booked tonight for storyline purposes.
Baron Corbin beats Sin Cara on your weekly, and there's your weekly W Superstars review. Sasha Banks and Becky versus Charlotte and Dana. I legitimately went for a toilet. So what happened? I'm sorry, I'm a professional prick, but this is 2 hours and a half ish now through the show. I had to go for a toilet break. So what happened in this was there anything shock value? When I came back, Charlotte was holding the women's championship in the air over Sasha Banks.
Yeah, so Natalya comes down somewhere near the end of the match. She pulls Becky off. She starts beating up Becky outside the ring, runs her into the ring post. Sasha comes in to try to help her tag team partner. Charlotte knocks her from the back. And then there is this interesting part where Charlotte and Natalya, they kind of stare at each other like for a second because, they just came off of a feud. Which I actually like that because they just didn't forget about it. Like they had those two matches at a couple pay-per-views a couple months ago. And usually in the past, they were just like, they just forget about it. They remembered it. They were still enemies, but they were looking at each other like, well, we've got other people to deal with. So I did like that touch to it. But the biggest thing that stands out to me in this whole fucking thing is Dana Brooke. What the fuck happened to you? I mean, she was a serviceable wrestler in NXT. She was hitting punches. She was literally doing punches like this, like not even coming anywhere close to connecting. I mean, this is worse than Stacy Keibler punches. Oh. This is worse than Baby Doll punches. This is worse than Miss Elizabeth. Well, actually, no, she did. Well, she did one slap one time. But you know what I'm saying? It was like you're a wrestler and you're supposed to be an athletic bodybuilder. You've gained a lot of weight. I think Asuka knocked the fat into her. And whatever talent she had, that kick from Asuka knocked whatever little talent Dana Brooke had. Whatever body shape she had, Asuka knocked that shit right the fuck out of her, and she ain't been the same since. I don't know. And somebody did ask, he's like, well, why is Dana Brooke in there anyway? I was like, there's one reason. Emma is injured. If Emma was not injured, Emma would be in this spot right now, which would be a hell of a lot better than Dana Brooke being in this spot.
Rusev and Sheamus versus Dolph Ziggler and Zack Ryder. Because obviously, if you look at next time we look at Monday Night Raw, okay, if you went a month without watching Raw and you come to SummerSlam, okay, and you read the Raw results, you could tell what feuds were happening judging by the tag matches. If you're like, oh, there's a tag match, that means, oh, Rusev's the champion, so he'll be defending against the guy who he didn't pin. Rusev made Ziggler tap out. Rusev's facing Ryder. There was no heel heat. There was nothing. but that made me want to see Ryder. Well, I don't want to see Ryder walk, let alone fucking win the championship belt. But Rusev and Ryder did nothing physically. Sheamus and Ziggler are there because they had to fill time.
Right.
It was boring. It wasn't even a good match. It bored the fuck out of me. And it's 3 good workers and a sack of shit. Like that's not good enough. This is like it's just poor. Like who can honestly say with their hand on their heart that this is a good product? I don't know how people can come out there on these shows and say this is good. Like,
well, I explained why it's brainwashing, but it's this is again why I advocate for squash matches. This match was all of 5 minutes long. You could have gotten a couple kids down from, just take about 5 or 6 kids down from Full Sail. Have them go, all right, this week you guys are going to be in squash matches on Raw. And this, instead of doing this shit where you make Dolph Ziggler look weak again, a former multi-time world champion who was over, then isn't over, and was over, who's a great talent, a great hand, should be a locker room leader at this point in his career. And you just make him look stupid again. You waste Sheamus in something that, Sheamus isn't a good hand anyway, and we have to see him for no reason whatsoever. Just throw Rusev out there with some guys from Full Sail and have him squash them, and then have Zack Ryder, do a run-in, sit on commentary, have Rusev cut a promo on the type, whatever it is. But don't put them in the ring together, and don't just say, oh, Ziggler, Sheamus, you need to do something tonight. Go out there with Zack and Rusev. Nobody gave a shit. Waste of characters.
Waste of time, waste of money, waste of effort, waste of everything. They gained nothing from it. Let me move on to the main event. Ambrose defending against Seth Rollins in match of the night. I enjoyed the match a lot. The finish was like, okay, where are we going? 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 Oh, it's finished. Oh, okay. Like, there was no, like, oh my God, what's going to happen? Like, there was nothing. It was just, Rollins is the champion. Oh, okay. But as of right now, the Twitter machine said, once the show went off the air, they announced it a draw and Ambrose is still a WWE champion.
Yeah.
Not even joking.
Yeah. They tried. They tried to, would you stop that over there? They tried to, I don't know if you can hear that tapping going on. They tried to give some suspense to a cliffhanger to the end of the show. All they really wound up doing, however, is confusing the audience. I think I get what they're trying to do because, again, NXT did it recently with Samoa Joe and Sami Zayn, which they overdid it with Samoa Joe and Sami Zayn, where they kept having these matches and both of them kept winning or getting to a draw. I understand that leading into the pay-per-view with Roman, but my theory is that eventually something's going to happen Sunday with this title because they need a reason to split it, which I'm not a fan of.
I reckon what I think they're going to do is they're going to split it, and what they're going to do is on Sunday they're going to have the first fall for the WWE Championship, the second fall for the World Championship. But if you win the first fall and become WWE Champion, you're going to Raw. If you win the second fall, you become World Champion and go to SmackDown. If you're one of the persons who don't win anything, it'll be a brand lottery. Like, they do the boom, 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 boom. Like, all because obviously for every 2 Raw, 1 goes to SmackDown so that they could get a Raw. Just something different. Like, just something different that's never been done before. Like for this screamed to me Booker T and Benoit, and that was fucking awesome, and you're never going to top that. But this was just awful. Like, that led to the best of 7 series for the US strap, which is fucking awesome. This, like, I didn't get it. And why you wouldn't have announced live on TV that Dean Ambrose is still the WWE champion instead of going off air with Rollins as your champion, because now when people tune into SmackDown, just say they don't have Twitter, they don't have Facebook, they don't have the internet, they only watch by cable, okay? Say there is someone out there, they see SmackDown on Dean Ambrose as WWE champion, they're going to think, what? That Rollins is the champion.
They're going to do a 5-minute video. You know what they're going to do? They're going to do a 5-minute video package. They're going to have a 15-minute in-ring promo, And you know, for the people who don't have Twitter, the reason they did it is they want people to tweet about Raw after the show's over, so they can get the ranking on Raw on the Twitter rankings. So they have an ending like that, so people can, you know, reinforce the brand. It's a marketing strategy. They're very good at doing that shit. I hate it. I dread. And I guess we can get into this now about the brand extension. LK and I are different on these two things. I am not. I've never been. I wasn't when they did it before. It's when I tuned out of WWE for a while. Been an advocate of having two world titles, even if you have two brands. I don't like two world titles because, again, there aren't two Super Bowls, there aren't two Wimbledon trophies, there aren't two Stanley Cups. There's one prize that everybody is going for. And some people say, well, you know, they have two brands, so they need to have two championships. No, they don't. The NWA, I'm going old school again because I'm old. Ric Flair, his role as world champion in NWA was to go around to all the territories, Florida, Crockett, World Class, even cross-promoted sometimes with the AWA, around the world, Japan. He was the world champion. So the world champion had the belt. He was above everybody else. So that world title meant the world. So Kerry Von Erich in Texas, let's say he was on SmackDown, he was the top guy. He could go up against the world champion and you'd root for him. Or another guy in Crockett, say, or Memphis, say it was the Junkyard Dog in Memphis, and Flair would go to defend against him. Flair would have these running feuds. That was the job of the world champion. That meant the world champion, you had double duty. If you are a world champion, you should have double duty. You should be on top of everything. Having two titles, the biggest problem with it is that inevitably one of them, and we saw it before when he split them before, one of them is going to be worth less than the other one.
Yes, but to defend that, that was only once it kind of started merging. Like I'd say 2009, 2010 was when it kind of, you know, that they were both having combined pay-per-views all the time. There was only one commentary team on pay-per-views, blah, 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 blah. And then all of a sudden you could kind of see the shift where, okay, it's a bit more lenient now where Raw guys are on SmackDown a lot more and it's not really going down. That's when the world championship started to diminish. But I'd say like 2002, 2003, 2004, 2005, 2006. I mean, Cyber Sunday 06 when they did the Clash of the Champions at the end, where they did Cena, Booker T, and Big Slow with the ECW champion, WWE champion, world champion. That was big because it's world champions and because it felt like Raw. Like when I was younger, I didn't, from 2003 to 2005, I didn't watch Raw. I was exclusive SmackDown guy when I was like 8 to 10 years old, which means when there will be kids who are 8 to 10 years old now, they will pick their favorite brand and they will only watch that because, to be honest, 8 hours of WWE program is far too much if you consider pay-per-views as well. A week in 3 days is ridiculous. So you'll pick the pay-per-view and one of the brands that you're a fan of. And think about this, okay? For instance, say, right, what date are we now? July 19th. So say there's a pay-per-view this Sunday, which is a Raw pay-per-view. 2 weeks after that, it's a SmackDown pay-per-view, okay? And then 2 weeks after that, it's a double pay-per-view, which they're actually doing, which they've announced. Okay, so this Sunday's the Raw pay-per-view. The WWE champion, there's only one champion. There's only one WWE champion. He defends, he loses the championship to the Raw number one contender. Right. What does that mean for the SmackDown number one contender who's been building a rivalry with the then champion, but he's no longer champion now because he lost the belt? Will he now lose his championship match because he's in a rival with that guy? Does that mean he loses the championship, or does that match become a triple threat? But then that's not fair because he's a Raw guy. Dude, it will make so much fucking confusion. It won't even be funny. Two brands, two separate entities, two different world champions.
It can't make confusion. They did that for decades. Decades.
Dude,
they were doing that.
It's different when it's a actual different company. And
they were different companies. World Class Championship Wrestling was World Class. Crockett was Crockett. Memphis was Memphis. Florida was Florida. Mid-South was Mid-South. Those were all different companies. And Flair or Harley Race, whoever, Terry Funk, whoever. Terry Funk gave up the title because he didn't want because that's what he had to do. He had to do all his duty. He's like, I don't want this title anymore, Crockett. It's sucking dog. So he said, just have Race beat me. I don't want the belt anymore because it's too much work. Flair's the only one who wanted that shit because Flair liked to travel that much and do all that shit. I mean, it's doable, and it gives that prestige to there being one ultimate prize. And the other problem with that too is that they still. I can see your point if again they were two separate companies, and say Raw had WrestleMania, and SmackDown had Starrcade.
Dude, that's what they're doing. That is what they're doing. They're having, so for instance, the next pay-per-view after this obviously is SummerSlam. That's the double one. But then after that, I think it's the Clash of Champions, which is a Raw. And then they're doing the next one, which I think was No Mercy as a SmackDown one. Hell in a Cell's Raw. Then they got another one on SmackDown. One pay-per-view every 2 weeks. The only ones that are double branded are SummerSlam, Survivor Series, Rumble, and Mania. They're the only one that's dual branded. So in theory, SmackDown will have pay-per-views. So that means, for instance, say you're a WWE champion and you're like, okay, I'm working a program with a Raw guy and a SmackDown guy, because obviously there's 2 pay-per-views in a month. You kind of have to if you want to build it TV-wise and pay-per-view business-wise. Does that mean, oh, wait, I lose the belt on the Raw event? Does that mean the SmackDown guy, who is the number 1 contender, who did earn it, that means he has to start a whole new program after building this program with this guy, with the guy who won the Raw pay-per-view one? Fuck, that's so confusing to even say, let alone do.
That's total new school booking, though, because, again, if you go to old school booking, there are territories that even have a world championship. You build the matches off of the feuds. And, again, I think it's a generational thing because different generations, I mean, they've established this kind of box that this is the way it has to be. And people like myself are like, shit, I've seen it done 18,000 different ways. I mean, even in New Japan now, I think the last big show they had, I think the Never Open Championship closed the show with Shibata and Homa. So you don't have to have the world title does not have to be the world champion doesn't have to be on every single show. You should be in fact, you should be building up your undercard, because the world champion should already be established. You should be building up your undercard and having feuds going on there. And I think that's where you take those that's where secondary titles originally come in anyway. Because so say back in '87, I remember going to the arena. So Hogan was on a tour with, I think it was Paul Orndorff. He was doing the A slots, the A tours, and they were headlining the B tours with Steamboat and Savage. So we had the B tours with Steamboat and Savage headlining it. If you build up your mid card, so again, why I say you don't need them. If you build up the US and IC titles to be worth something, you can main event with those titles. But since those titles aren't worth shit, you can't main event with them. That would negate you having to have the world champion always having to be on everything in this feud and that feud. You don't do it that way. The world championship should be above everything else. And then each of those programs should have their own regional, well, back in the day we'd call them regional, but their own TV titles. Like the US titles for SmackDown, that's the ultimate prize of SmackDown. Raw has the ultimate prize, but then there's this guy who's the world champion who hovers above all of that, and it works out that way. I think it's not going to happen, so I'm not going to worry too much about it, because I know that requires them to, book in advance and think things through and actually build up the secondary titles and do all of this shit. And they'd have to go old school with it, so they're not going to do that. But my ultimate issue is that it dilutes those titles, and that's the one big thing I did not like. Probably from 2006 up until they re-merged them in 2011, I think it was, or 13, whatever. It was 13. I think it was before Daniel Bryan won it, or Randy Orton won it. That the titles didn't make sense, and you have 4 shows. You have Royal Rumble, WrestleMania, SummerSlam, and Survivor Series. Why Survivor Series, I don't know, but we're going to have both titles defended. They both can't be the main event. And whichever feud's the hottest one is going to be the title that's worth the most. And if you get 2 or 3 of those in a row, where the SmackDown World title is on mid-show and the Raw World title is always on because Cena has it or because Roman Reigns has it, that other title eventually will look weak. And I am not confident in WWE being able to book well enough to kind of balance those titles out, because, again, they can't even book the secondary titles.
I think maybe if you go down the old route of the double main event, like actually make it feel like a main event, it is possible. Like what they've been doing with the Cena AJ, that kind of felt like a double main event to me personally. Anyway, that didn't feel like, oh, it's in the middle of the show, this is a mid card match. It felt like, oh fuck, this is one of the main events.
Yeah, like, you're gonna really. But do you trust them to be able to be that creative and work that hard to keep that consistent? To make sure that those 2 titles are even and one doesn't slip because Reigns has this title but we gave this other title to Kevin Owens. And Owens is slipping because he's not as big a name as Cena or Reigns or somebody like that. That title, okay, well, Kevin Owens is the champion on SmackDown. Well, obviously, he's going to be on fourth. Cena's going to be on last because Cena's the bigger star. You're going to have that shit going on, and I just think.
But then you got to remember that's only 4 times a year. Like that's just imagine how many shows. Say they run 300 shows a year. You're only gonna have to experience that 4 times as kind of a forgetful thing. If it was like a regular occurrence, or it's every single month that's happening, but it's not. It's not like before.
Not so much, especially when you guys rag on me for a match that Bray Wyatt lost to John Cena at WrestleMania 3 years ago, because it's that important on those shows. It's that important. It stays with you. Bray Wyatt could have beaten John Cena 18,000 times, but he lost that match at WrestleMania to John Cena, and it was that important to a lot of other people that it happened then. So if on all the big shows that SmackDown title's here and that Raw title's always up here, after about a year, you're back to where we were before. So again, I'm going to hope, because this is what's going to happen. I'm going to hope that they can keep them not getting too far apart. I'm not confident that they can do it, because even tonight's show, even though some things were good, some things were bad, I don't think they creatively are at a point where they know how to balance these cards, how to balance these championships, that we're not going to wind up into. And I said this when they said that brand split. I'm like, you watch, 2 to 3 years from now, we're all going to be bitching about it. And now how this title's worthless, and this title's worthless, and this title's worthless, and they can't book it right. They can't book it right, and they've ruined the world title, and it's the same shit again. And we'll be right back to where we are. And then people are going to go, they should merge the titles again. We're going to be right. It's just a never-ending circle of shit, because we just went through this 3 years ago. They just merged the titles 3 years ago because everybody bitched about the world title didn't mean shit. Oh, now everybody's excited. Oh, they should split them again. And then 3 years from now, they should merge them again. It's just going to keep going on forever. Just make a good show, make an Ultimate Prize, have secondary titles, head those different companies, and feature those on those sub cards. And the World Championship should be on special occasions from a guy that's running. I think that's probably the best way to do it.
Yeah, that makes sense, because then, say for instance, just for argument's sake, say Dean Ambrose is champion, even though the Raw lasting image is Rollins. Say Ambrose is drafted to Raw, and the pay-per-view after SummerSlam is fucking Bad Blood, for instance. Say that's a Raw event. He would defend that on Raw, and then if he's still champion, he might defend it on SmackDown. But if he's not champion, then the new champion, he can still continue that feud of whoever he's feuding on SmackDown. No, see, it's just confused. I just can't. I just can't wrap my head around that. That just, if you're champion and then you lose, but you're in the middle of a program with a SmackDown guy because you're expected to be the WWE champion, you can't then keep on doing this Raw versus SmackDown thing, because then when they do it at the big events, it doesn't mean anything.
I don't think you would do it that way. I think if you're going to have a program with a guy for 2 months, say if it's Rollins having a program with Kevin Owens is on SmackDown.
Yeah, but it's not 2 months. These guys are doing a network special every 2 weeks.
No, I mean,
this isn't 2 months.
No, I mean the feud. When I say program, I mean there's a feud going on. The feud's going to go on over several pay-per-views.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So the world champion is going to be feuding with Kevin Owens is on SmackDown. He's got a feud over those, September and October. He's feuding with Kevin Owens for the world championship. That's the big deal for them. Meanwhile, on Raw, there's something bigger going on, because again, like you said, AJ and John Cena can be considered a main event in itself. So if you have that kind of star power, you're going to have that star power on both brands. If the world champion is doing something for a guy on SmackDown, then do a dream match over here and promote that and build that up to be a dream match over there, or a number one contendership match. Or if here's an idea, make the Intercontinental Championship mean fucking something again. So an Intercontinental title match can main event a sub show like a Bad Blood or a Clash of the Champions or something like that. Again, like I just said, we just had a New Japan show that was headlined by a Never Open Championship match. Because the Never Open Championship matches, people go, holy shit, that's your main event, Shibata versus Homa. I want to see that. Build those titles up. I'm more about building the things we have up instead of splitting them apart. Because the ultimate problem we're still going to have is that none of this shit matters. We can put the titles over here and over there, but they still are not booking them to where we give a shit. I want to give a shit about that world title. I want to give a shit about the U.S. title, the IC title, and I want it to matter. I don't want it to just be evenly. I don't want socialist booking of like, well, you had 5 minutes over here, and now Raw gets 5 minutes, and then SmackDown gets 5 minutes. I want it to mean something. Am I here by myself? Well, I don't know what just happened. Guys, let me go to technical difficulties brought to you by KocoSports. Holy shit! Why am I hosting this channel?
No. You're lucky. You're lucky. I don't know what the fuck that was.
Yeah,
It's really fucking random. I have no clue. It just closed. I'm like, what the fuck is going on here?
Vince. Look, Vince. I had it out with you last week on Rasslin Rantin. You need to stop messing with me, man. He's calling my show. He's giving me all this crap. I can't take it anymore. Stop sabotaging my shows, Vince. I told you once. I hate your booking. And no, there will be no. And sorry, there will be no Raw match on match recommendations again this week.
I don't think.
Shit, you got Rey Mysterio and Ricochet and Prince Puma this week. Fuck no, that's going on.
How do you? Oh, dude, I can hear myself big time. Okay, there we go. That's cool. That's gone now. How do you do the match of the week? Is it just one match of the week, or is it a match from each day?
It's whatever matches make me really stand up, because sometimes it could be one, sometimes it's three. I think last week it was three. I just watch the shows that I watch, and I'm watching the Ring of Honor show this week. The taping I was at, I think, airs this week. So there was a pretty damn good match with Silas Young and ACH at the taping I was at. So I think that airs this week, if it hasn't already, but that will be on match recommendations. And I don't care. Well, actually, I shouldn't say that, because Nakamura and Finn Balor wasn't as good as I thought it was going to be. I'm hoping, from what I've heard, that Prince Puma and Rey Mysterio is going to be what I think it's going to be. So, yeah.
We'll get some live comments. We'll get some live. That's our job. Rey Mysterio, Straight Shoot loves Raw every week. Ask them. T-Man. Fucking love wrestling old school views. He drops knowledge. Rey Mysterio. Rasslin Rantin, what are your thoughts on TNA lately?
You know what? As much as we hate Brother Nero, I gotta say,
I love that. What are you on about?
No, they're a lot. It's a 50-50 thing. Some people love it, some people hate it.
Mm-hmm.
I watched it and I was like, this is terrible. And then it was so bad. Once they got to the fireworks and fucking Jeff is collecting fireworks with a trash can lid, I was like, this is so bad. It's actually good. So, and since then, I've paid more attention to TNA, I'll tell you that, and so has the rest of the world. So, I think, again, and the problem with them, and it's the same thing with New Japan, with back a couple months ago with Ospreay, once they get buzz outside of the normal people that talk about them, they need to do something else to keep that going. So I'm hoping that, and I will be watching TNA this week, that they will be doing something else to kind of build on that momentum and all of the fanfare they got from the final deletion, which was hysterical in just a very odd way. It's like I've never seen impressionist. I've seen impressionist art. I've never seen impressionist wrestling before, and now I have.
You could take it to the grave now. I'll
Yeah.
take that. Nice words from Paul Wade or Wall, whatever your name is. To apologize. Thank you very much. Should they bring back the fist for SmackDown? I personally think they should have for different looks, different everything. They should be different production, different logos, spicing those logos up, make everything different. Like it cannot be the same in any way, shape, or form. I think that in 2008, early 2008, when they brought the HD set, and I think that's what helped kind of kill the differences. I don't know if you feel the same, but I hated it when they were the only difference is the logo on the actual Tron. Like the ropes are the same, everything is identical. The only difference is the ramp. Like if you shown me that picture of the ring tonight and a picture of it tomorrow, I couldn't tell you which one's Raw or SmackDown. You wouldn't be able to know.
Yeah.
And it needs to be different feel. What I used to like about SmackDown back in the days, they used to have different lighting. If you remember, the actual lighting itself was different. They had the fist, they had that awesome set. Raw used a high ramp, SmackDown didn't use a ramp. They tried to differentiate. Sorry, it's fucking 5:22 a.m. in the fucking morning. They tried to difference themselves from each other, and I was a huge fan of that. But it just kind of, once it was kind of like, oh yeah, 2008, yeah, blah, 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 PG era, blah, blah, blah. And then it just kind of turned out we need to look flash and fancy and pantsy, and it just killed it for me. It does. When I look at that set, I don't think of a wrestling show. I think of like some pop culture event. That annoys me.
Well, that's what it is. It's a pop culture event. That's what WWE is. I hope that they go. I don't know if they'll do this because I know they like showing their crowds. I opt for the entrance being on the hard camera. The way they do it with New Japan and Ring of Honor has been doing it lately, and just do a totally different ring entrance. They've been doing that stage, big Titantron setup with the ramp since 1997. Trivia! I'm going to drop some more knowledge. First person who had a Titantron with the new setup was Psycho Sid. He was the first person with the Titantron setup. But they've been doing it. That was 1997. It's almost 20 years. 20 years. Time to change that setup.
Yeah, it's been disgraceful. Wait, Mr. We have his rule. He's allowed one porn question. Okay?
Oh God.
He's allowed. We've limited. He's given 6. Well, he hasn't. He's given 4. But we'll ask one here. And it's the first one. If a girl who is a friend tells me she is dumping her boyfriend, that's just all it says. What? No. What? No, that doesn't make sense. If a girl who is a friend tells me she's dumping her boyfriend. Come on, Ray, you're better than that. Oh, no, sorry, someone got in the way. Okay, so here we go. Final time here. If a girl who is a friend tells me she is dumping her boyfriend and wants me to cut my hair, does that mean she is interested in me?
I mean, she's interested in playing with your mind. Stay away from that hoe.
If a girl who is a friend tells me she's dumping her boy, but why is she telling you? Because that means he could be already in the friend zone. That's a possibility.
She's trying to test to see how much she needs attention. And I have a boyfriend. I need attention. I need you to do something for me. Hey, are you going to pay me attention and do stuff for me if I tell you to? You might get some. You're not going to, but you might. Yeah, stay away from that. I'm old, dude. I've seen that shit before. Someone cut that bitch off. Sorry.
See, look, this is why you should become an infantry member. Anything you need help with, we got your back. Oh. Anyway, it's been a pleasure. We look at this for timing. This isn't Dave Coco Rasslin Rantin. I said we're going to get finished by 5:30. It's 5:25 right now. Look at that for timing. Look at that. Right on the money. Thank you, everyone who left a live comment. If it's a comment that you really, really want an answer from us from, wait till the video is processed and then post it in the comment section, and I'll definitely give that a reply. If it's a big question with a big topic, I will make a Stump the Idiot or send it to Coco to do a Stump the Idiot. Either way, we'll be back tomorrow with a draft review. That's great. Another late night. Are you watching the draft tomorrow?
Yeah, we'll be competing tomorrow night. Well, actually, I'm doing live reactions, so I'm just doing a reaction to random draft picks, like probably the first one, middle part, and then just post them up. So I'll be doing them live and then posting them again. So it's gonna be like 5-minute quick ones. basically stealing it from what's that? Tyro Magnus's thing. But yeah, I guess I'll promote. Yeah, Rasslin Rantin. I'm here on YouTube as well. I have a Brock Lesnar contract, so I appear on Coco's channel with LK, Booms, and everybody else, and Sammy whenever the fuck I feel like it. So I show up every once in a while. But I have my own channel called Rasslin Rantin, and we do a weekly show, somewhat weekly, called Rasslin Review, where I cover all the topics and all of pro wrestling throughout the week. We have top 10 list. We have retrospective reviews. We just did the one for the 86 Crockett Cup. I'm working on the one for, oh God, Russell. If you younger guys are going to know this one, but the AWA did a show called Russell Rock 86 with the Russell Rock rap. Google that when this show is over. Scott Hall's in it, Marty Jannetty's in it, Larry Zbyszko, and they're rapping as a promo for this show. It is hilarious, fucking yes. It is hilarious. So Google that once you're done watching the show. But yeah, so that'll be coming up in probably about a month. And we have a web channel. We have a channel, webchannel24.com/Rasslin, RASSSLIN, and you can find me on the Twitters and everywhere else. Okay, thanks for letting me come on the show tonight. It's cool reviewing Raw again. I don't know how you guys do this shit every week. It's hard.
It is torture, but it's what you got to do. People enjoy the content, so you got to put it out. But yeah, I'll put the link again once this video is processed. I'll put the link in the description box so people will be able to just click the link and go check you out. Because I always enjoy your wrestling retrospective. Obviously, as a person who wasn't even, I was nowhere near born. Dude, I wasn't born a decade after that show was released. I was born a decade after that show was released. 96.
Yeah, you should tweet that. I think everybody should do a review of that one. You will not believe. I forgot about it, how bad that thing is. And it's, like I said, it's a lot of old school wrestlers, Razor Ramon, Shawn Michaels, Mr. Perfect. It is hilarious just how bad.
The only AWA I've seen was there was a Super Clash on the network.
Yeah.
And dude, that why did they get those stadiums? Like, they weren't even like a tenth full. Like, oh God, what were they doing?
They used to do that a lot because, well, the stadium shows, they were baseball stadiums a lot of the times, and it was hard to fill. They didn't mind it back then because it was kind of typical to have them, like, this side's filled, but the other, this is before they got all the drapes like the WWE does now. Even the Attitude Era, they like half-filled Skydome. WWE was the first one to really, I think it was the big event, was the first at C&E Stadium in Toronto was the first one where they had a baseball stadium that was actually filled after the Shea Stadium show with Bruno and Zbyszko. So it was common. They just wanted to say, there's 30,000 people here. There's 10,000 empty seats, but there's still 30,000 people here, kind of thing.
Yeah, it just doesn't look great now looking at it, because obviously I'm used to seeing I have seen my whole life stadiums jam-packed, and I turn this on and I'm looking at it like, dude, there's more. It looks like there's more empty seats than there is seats. And what really fucked my mind is, like, you'd see a row of empty seats, but then you just see that one person dotted in the middle there, and I'm there like, whoa, he must be having a hell of a time, isn't he? But no, that does sound good.
Probably would have been me back in the day. Like, well, I don't want to fucking sit next to you assholes. I'm gonna go over here, drink a beer, and smoke a blunt, and watch Ric Flair lose to Kerry Von Erich again. So yeah. It was kind of fun. I actually kind of like those shows because I went to a couple of those bigger stadium shows where you could kind of walk and go wherever you wanted to. You could go back and talk. You could actually go down and see the guys, sitting in the back or whatever. It felt like they usually felt like really big indie shows. So it was fun. It's not. I'm going to limit my youth. It's not like that anymore. I'm so old. I'm so old. Same birthday as CM Punk, and he's about to lose. Well. Anyway, yes, wrap it up, and I'll see you guys in a couple weeks. I'll be back on doing this again sometime soon.
Definitely.
Actually, you know what? Actually, what I want to do with you guys, I want to, just as a side note, and everybody can hear this, I'd rather do NXT because I actually owe Booms an NXT review because he asked me to do one night. I couldn't at the last minute, so on NXT review. Next time they build and promote a big match, I probably want to do one of those.
Awesome. We do NXT reviews 1 hour after the air. So say it's on 1 a.m. to 2 a.m. We review it at 3.
Okay.
Just for your future preferences. If there is ever a time you're like, oh fuck, I'm home early or blah blah blah. I've watched NXT and blah blah blah.
Right.
Yeah. So if there's ever a time you've watched a show already and you're like you haven't seen it uploaded on the channel, just send me or Booms or Sammy a message saying, hey, are you planning on doing this? And we'll give you a time.
All right. Cool.
You're always welcome. Thank you so much for joining me. It's been a pleasure. Make sure everyone leaves a like, leave a comment, leave a subscribe. Hit that. If you haven't hit that subscribe button, what are you really doing with your life? You need to shame on you. Hit the subscribe button. Check out Rasslin Rantin's great content. Check out pressing.me, KocoSports.net. That's KocoSports.net. It's where the world goes to kick ass over combat sports to bubble. Where it's okay to be a passionate fan. And from this depressed, passionate fan to you, stay safe, stay well, because it's a absolutely fucked up world out there. And I'm embarrassed to call myself a human being half the time. And I'll be catching your asses down the line.